Every time they drop a new Crimson Desert gameplay footage, my brain unlocks a new level of disbelief. Like, how is this even real? It just keeps getting better, and it's not just the visuals. In every new clip, they casually flex a new crazy gameplay system like, here you go, we've got this too. Now, I've talked about Crimson Desert here before, so here's a little recap of all the stuff you can do in this game. There's arm wrestling, fishing, hunting, cooking, shopping, horse taming, wagon hijacking, skydiving, cat cuddling, dog petting, sheep wrangling, dragon riding, building, climbing, contract taking, hostage saving, treasure hunting, looting, gliding, and then hot air balloon piloting. Now, back when I made that video, I was still kinda skeptical. Cause you know, when you've been burned enough times, you learn to keep your guard up. It just seemed too good to be true, and I thought they'll remove a lot of stuff from the final build, if it ever managed to come out in the first place, cause the game didn't even have an official release date. And to be honest, it offers way too much, and no other studio really does that except for Rockstar, of course, but they're in a league of their own. And then came a long period of silence from Pearl Abyss, followed by the news that the game had been delayed yet once again, and now will be coming out spring next year. But then, out of nowhere, they dropped a new story trailer with an actual release date attached to it, followed by more gameplay snippets, and there's a noticeable difference between what they showed before and what we're seeing now. First of all, thankfully they fixed the sound of the footsteps, because before, when Cliff walked, it sounded like an entire army marching in one place. But anyways, this time around they showed a lot more combat and really focused on how in-depth and detailed those systems are. Now, first and foremost, this isn't your typical R1 R2 hack slash dodge and parry setup. Most games give you a limited set of moves with a few predictable patterns for dodging and parrying, or some kind of rock paper scissors mechanic where certain weapons work better against certain enemy types. This game, however, is taking a much different approach to combat scenarios. Of course, there are dodge and parry mechanics, they're not reinventing the wheel here, but they're saying that the combat is heavily inspired from fighting games like Samurai Showdown and King of Fighters, which is pretty intriguing. Cliff has a long list of combat moves, and you can chain attacks by pressing or holding certain buttons in a specific sequence, which sounds pretty similar to performing combos in a fighting game. So this kinda explains the unusual control schemes I only keep hearing about, since I haven't tried out the game myself. They only invited big YouTubers to check it out, not little me. So if you're enjoying the video, please hit that subscribe button and do all the YouTube stuff, like, comment, share, it really helps a lot. Thank you. Now, Cliff isn't just a sword-swinging badass, he's got a full arsenal of weapons, like the dude's literally carrying an entire house on his back. Anyways, here we can see him using a spear, so I'm guessing there are plenty of melee options to mess around with. Then for ranged combat, you've got bows with different types of arrows like shock, fire, and even these whistling arrows that summon some kind of artillery barrage or airstrike or whatever you want to call it. But you know what? The dude's perfectly fine without any weapons, cause he can also pull off wrestling moves from grappling and suplexing to straight up yeeting people into oblivion. Now in this game, the upgrades and unlocks go beyond just the skill trees. Different gear and weapons can grant unique abilities as well. For example, after defeating this one boss, Cliff takes his shield that lets him summon this blue Hulk genie to fight his enemies. Not really sure if he can fight against Nintendo's lawyers though, but anyhow. Since this is a fantasy action-adventure RPG with swords, there are some magical elements. There's even some weird tech stuff going on as well, but more on that in a bit. The thing is, Cliff isn't a wizard or a mage, but he has mastery over basic elemental magic like ice, lightning, and fire, thanks to a special bracelet that he probably gets later on in the game. There's even a dedicated slot in this gigantic weapon wheel for selecting the type of magic that you want to use. You can go full Thor mode on your enemies by summoning lightning from your sword, or straight up turn it into a discount Leviathan axe by infusing your attacks with ice magic. I'm not sure what this green stuff is, but I guess it's some form of telekinesis. Anyways, magic is not just limited to combat either. Cliff can use it creatively for traversal as well. Like, just look at him using this magic blast to pull off this triple jump. I always wondered why witchers never use their art sign to launch themselves into the air like that. Oh, that's why. But anyhow, it really shows the attention to detail the devs have put into crafting these systems. On top of that, they also showed off this weird rope magic that lets you swing around like f***ing Spider-Man. And when you pair that with the Batman gliding mechanic, it's just batshit insane. Now, since we're on this topic, let's talk about the movement and traversal overall. You can walk, run, glide, or ride your way around the continent of Pywell, which is huge by the way. They even showed Cliff rowing a boat, so yes, there are boats as well. And just look at the water physics. That BlackSpace engine is really something else, but more on that in a bit. You can also ride a number of mounts as well. Now let's just get the horses out of the way, cause who cares when you can ride grizzly bears and literal f***ing raptors. Then of course there are dragons, and not just for flying around. You can actually shoot fireballs at your enemies with them. But if you thought it ends there, you're wrong, cause you can also pilot this insane Dwarven engineered mech suit. It comes equipped with guns, rockets, thrusters, and even an EMP blast. eShort must really went crazy with this one. I mean, why would you ever need an EMP blaster in a game with swords and...
Oh.
At this point, I won't be surprised if you can drive a tank in this game. Now the thing is, the dragons and mech suits are kinda overpowered, but the devs are trying to balance that out by carefully tying these things to specific story missions or maybe restricting them to certain regions. I'm not exactly sure how they'll handle it, but you'll probably unlock the dragon mounts quite a bit later in the game, which would make it feel super rewarding. As for the mech suit, there's a fuel meter, and once the tank's empty, the suit is rendered useless, so you can't just use it indefinitely. But based on all this, it seems the game is focusing more on story-based progression rather than stupid number-based leveling system. So I guess you won't have to grind for XP or upgrades, and that's a win in my books. Now here's the thing, Crimson Desert is being developed on Pearl Abyss' own proprietary BlackSpace engine. And this engine doesn't just do pretty visuals or fancy paper physics, it can handle the real stuff. Just look at how much shit is happening on screen. There are hundreds of NPCs fighting in the background, and it's all happening in real time while you're doing your own thing. I also noticed these little vision cones of enemies on the minimap, which might mean that they're putting some serious work into stealth as well. But hey, that's just me speculating. Then just take a look at Golden Star here. You can literally see all the mechanical parts like these gears and chains moving around. Wait, what kind of bird is that? I mean, most games would tease a dragon for like 40 hours, and then these guys here are treating them like pigeons flying around. But anyways, let's not get distracted here. This engine can also simulate elemental reactions, like water can freeze or conduct electricity, while wood and cloth can catch fire. So yeah, the environment is reactive, and you can use it to your advantage while fighting enemies as well. Now, what's really impressive is the freedom of choice they're giving you. Like, not many devs do this. Usually when a game introduces some crazy new mechanic, they design entire levels around it. Like, I still remember how Batman Arkham Knight forced you to use the Batmobile all the time. Even many of the boss battles were specifically designed around it. But in this game, they're giving you all these wild systems and mechanics, and they're not forcing you to use any of them. Like, it's there if you want it, and it's probably more efficient if you use it, but you don't have to rely on it. And this freedom of choice carries over to the boss fights as well. You don't need to find that one tiny weak spot above an enemy's butt crack just to beat them, but it is there if you're into that. Now of course, all this is still too good to be true, and I can't help but think, okay, so this game has everything I've ever wanted in a game, and even stuff I didn't even know I wanted till now. So there has to be a catch, right? And that's why I do have a few concerns. First of all, with all the raids and large-scale battles, I think the game's gonna be pretty long. But not in a good way. I fear the story might feel padded with raids or camp clearing tied directly to the main missions. Personally, I prefer the story missions to feel more unique, but it's just my opinion. Then there's the question about the story itself. Is it actually any good? Are the characters interesting and well written, or are they just there to point you to the next mission? Only time will tell. But you know how it goes.
Keep your expectations low, boy, and you will never be disappointed.
The second thing is, since there are no strict enemy types or defined movesets, the combat might end up feeling a bit loose. Now once again, I haven't tried it myself, but looking at the combat reminds me of The Witcher 3, and in my opinion, it was one of the weaker aspects of that game. One more thing that might concern a lot of players is the unusual control scheme. There's probably going to be a learning curve, because this definitely won't play like a Ubisoft game where holding R2 does basically everything for you. But personally, that's not a problem for me. It might take a little getting used to, but once you get the hang of it, I think it's all good. But yeah, all that aside, one thing's for sure. This game is wild. It's arguably the most ambitious game being made right now. And surprisingly, it actually seems to be delivering on its promises so far. I mean, when a studio keeps putting out hours and hours of raw gameplay footage, that actually tells you they're pretty confident in what they're making. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. Do share your thoughts about Crimson Desert in the comment section down below. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.
Find the answers you seek.